Alright, what's up everyone? So I'm gonna give it a little, a little time. Let me see what time it is before 7:01. Give it a little time before I start I start talking and doing all that good stuff. So I have no clue.
Talk back?
Huh?
Or talk back? Do you have that on?
No.
Do you remember how we did it last time?
I have no clue how you did it. Yeah, so let me see. She's trying to put the talk back. Maybe I can hear what's going on in the comments. At least for anybody on my Facebook, I could always go back and listen to it, the live and everything through my phone because it goes through the comments. But anybody here on my YouTube or even
It's gonna go to the fan real quick.
Twitch, I'm not too sure. So give me a minute.
Instagram, WhatsApp, Scanner Radio, YouTube, Twitch, YouTube, button, notification, 1, YouTube, all, comment, mention, you're important, news notification, live now down the rabbit hole, news notification, emotes, list, clapperboard up, button, today, head, news notification, ABC, news up, button, action, YouTube Premium, home screen, Twitch, Prime Video, Peacock, Net, Gmail, Peacock, Prime, Twitch, YouTube, YouTube Premium, button, notification, button, search,
Alright, so we're putting on the talk back here on my laptop.
rosary,
This way whoever's on,
suggestion rosary,
I can probably be able to hear it. I'm not sure how it works,
DjSeeNoEvil,
especially with the YouTube.
Get image descriptions from Google.
navigate up, button, clear, increase button, voice search, button,
I don't know if it's gonna work with Facebook and all that too.
button, more options, button, DjSeeNoEvil, at DjSeeNoEvil,
Keyboard, touchpad, print.
button,
Setting. Get image.
at DjSeeNoEvil4743,
Find more.
bottom sheet, button, drag handle, button,
Close.
handle, button, drag
Setting.
handle,
Accessibility.
increase accessibility, at DjSeeNoEvil,
Apps.
drag
Notific.
handle,
Accounts.
button, copy handle,
Device.
button,
Keyboard.
drag handle,
Settings.
button, drag handle, at
Settings.
DjSeeNoEvil, button, drag handle, at DjSeeNoEvil4743,
Accessibility. Accessibility.
button, copy handle, button, drag handle, at DjSeeNoEvil, button, copy handle, button, drag handle,
Text to speech sub.
navigate up, button,
Select to speak.
button,
Press.
search, DjSeeNoEvil, at DjSeeNoEvil, 557 subscribe, 702 video, button, description, button,
Text.
manage video, button, edit channel, button, home, button, videos, button, short, button, live,
Text to speech subpage back button.
button, live, selected, page 4 of 6, radio button, popular, not selected, button, short, button, videos, home screen,
Sorry about that, you guys. But
Accessibility.
it's giving notifications time to go out.
radio,
See how it works. Try to put the talk back on.
Network.
This way I can read me my comments.
General. Bluetooth. General. Launcher.
I don't know if you guys can hear the
Accessibility.
laptop talking.
Yes. Accessible.
I said I don't know if you guys can hear the laptop talking, and then it was saying yes. Not you guys, but whatever she was hitting.
Audio.
less than DJ mind greater than screen off.
Audio.
Minimize. Account.
This is pissing me off.
Audio. StreamYard. Post.
YouTube. Scanner Radio.
Show comment on stage.
Instagram. Facebook. Messenger.
Show,
Messages. Facebook.
Facebook. Show comment on stage. DjSeeNoEvil209 is now live.
Button. Search.
Streaming music. DUI incident 7 years later. My story with DjSeeNoEvil209.
Tap dating. Tab 4. Notification. Tab 5 of 6.
Show comment on
Home screen. Facebook.
Why wouldn't it do that?
Messenger.
accessibility.
Messages. Phone. Contact. Application. 7:07 p.m. Thursday the 18th.
Text to speech sub.
There goes text to speech. No, maybe. Alright, so we're trying to figure this out. I know I'm live right now. I'm gonna get started, but you know, it's giving the notification for whoever's on, have a chance to get on, and but we're trying to figure it out to where it reads me back out loud my comments or my chats. 'Cause initially I was just gonna go live on YouTube through my phone because it reads all the comments, but when it reads the comments, it talks over me. You guys hear it on your end.
7:08 p.m.
So just trying to figure out how to put the talk back on where it reads the chat and comment. I know she's done it before, just don't remember exactly how.
Screen off.
You might just have to. Hold on. Listen to these settings.
Huh? I'm still live on.
7:09 p.m. Applicate on phone messages. Messenger. Facebook. Instagram. Facebook. Messenger. Messages. Phone. Contacts.
So trying to figure this out real fast. This way we can have the talk back on. So you guys got any comments or say anything, I'll be able to hear it.
Phone. Messenger. Facebook. Instagram. WhatsApp. Scanner Radio. YouTube.
Chromebox.
YouTube Premium. Use button. Button. Notifications. 1.
Accessibility.
YouTube. Notifications.
I don't know if you guys can hear the
Navigate
laptop
up.
talking.
Button. Search. Button. All. Selected. Comments. Mention. You're important.
Setting. Mic.
Notifications
Play
now
Store.
down the rabbit hole. Button.
Show comment on stage. Live viewer comments show up on StreamYard. This.
Cardi B's baby
Show
drama.
comment on
Launching. Button. Action.
Show comment on stage. DjSeeNoEvil209 is now live.
Uploaded to video
Streaming.
1 hour. Button. Action.
New comments. Show comment on. Show comment on. Show comment on stage. Yet. Hide comment yes.
Notification ABC News. Button. Notifications.
Show comment on stage. Hello. Hide comment hello. Show comment.
Show comments.
It doesn't want to do it. Like,
Object
why
object.
it's not doing
Share
it,
your
I don't know.
phone hub.
Probably because we're on
Accessibility.
StreamYard. I don't know.
Maybe. But it did it last time. for you,
Chromebox
didn't it?
subpage back button.
Yeah, but we were,
Settings. Text to speech.
but we were only, I believe, on
Select to
Twitch or
speak.
just YouTube, or did do it before on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. Through StreamYard.
Caption.
Alright. So I don't know, I have no clue who's on. But trying to figure this out this way I can hear you guys. You guys chat, comment, leave some in the comments.
Screen off. 7-Eleven East Twitch, Prime Vid Twitch, YouTube, Scanner Rating WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook. Notifications. Tab 5
I don't know what to
6.
say. It's not. I don't know why it's
Access
doing
your
that.
Facebook account.
The what?
Your mobile number
Chromebox
is
spoken feedback is ready.
478.
Bluetooth enabled.
Recently added
Accessibility.
to the Facebook account.
Bluetooth enabled.
Please, you could lose access. Unlabeled. Button. Review
Chromebox
209,
subpage back button.
Button. Review 209 450 4782. Button.
Accessibility.
Go to profile. Tap back again to exit. Home screen.
So it's supposed to be
Facebook.
reading it back to you.
Facebook. Button. Go to profile.
I don't know why it's doing that.
Chromebox subpage back button.
Story.
Settings.
Button.
Text to
Create a
speech.
nominee Russ Story.
Accessibility.
Button. Joseph Jimenez's
Select to
button.
speak settings
Facebook
subpage back button.
Messaging. Home. Friends. Reels. Tab 3 of 6. Dating. Notifications.
Select to
Tab
speak.
5 of
Select to
6.
speak settings.
Notifications. Tab 5 of 6.
Show comment on stage. Hello.
Menu. Tab. Notifications. Heading. Button. Search.
Show comment on stage. Pink is here.
New.
Show
Heading.
comment on stage.
Button.
Pink is here.
Gallego React.
Hide comment. Pink is here.
Thursdays with DJ.
Show
Pink is
comment
here.
on stage. Pink is here.
3H.
So is that? Oh, hold on, not right now.
I'll take it again.
New. Heading. Button.
Well,
Benji Gallego React.
we're not gonna be able to use it because
Select
for
to
whatever
speak
reason
setting.
it's not.
Okay.
For whatever reason it's not doing it. I don't know why.
Button. Benji Gallego React New. Heading.
Okay.
Increase accessibility volume.
Okay, I'm
21%.
sorry.
I don't think nobody's even on.
Set to 21%.
Pink Cozy is on.
Alright, so. Alright, so we're not. The talkback's not working right now. We're trying to figure out the talkback this way I can hear like the comments and chats and stuff like that while I do this. You know, speak a little bit. So. So if you guys go back on my YouTube, anybody is listening on my YouTube channel, DjSeeNoEvil. If you go to my playlist on my YouTube channel and look up on the playlist DUI True Crimes My Story. That's what it is. There's two of them. That says DUI True Crimes, but the one that says DUI True Crimes My Story, then you look up the video that says 911 dispatch today changed my life. Watch that video. And so 7 years ago, a matter of fact, before I get started, unfortunately we couldn't get the chat to work where it reads me the comments and everything for I know what's going on in the chat, because initially I was going to go live on my phone only on YouTube. This way I can hear everybody chat on my YouTube and what they're saying, and you know, respond to comments and chats and stuff like that. But so before I get started, just I say about 2 weeks ago over there off of Polk in Napa County, off of Polk Valley Road, Polk Valley Road, Polk Valley Way. So there was a guy, he was drinking and driving. I'm not going to say his name, you know, respect all the families. I'm not sure they, just out of respect for the people that's passed away. But he was driving over there on Polk Valley Road in Napa County, or in Napa, and they were in a Toyota van, a Toyota van, and he ran into a tree. And when he ran into the tree, 6 out of the 8 people that was in the van unfortunately passed away. And so I don't know if it was his family. I have no clue who was in the van, but 2 survived. They were in critical condition. They sent them to Queen of the Valley out there in Napa. And it's crazy because July 16th, I believe, on the exact same road, 2 miles down from that actual incident, a father was drinking driving, and unfortunately his 10-year-old son was with him, and he wrecked because of drinking and driving, and his 10-year-old son didn't make it. And I can tell you a lot of stories about incidents like this, because I speak at the high schools. As a matter of fact, I got a fall event coming up that I want to be speaking to, and I speak about my story, and I play that video that I told you guys to watch. At the high schools, at public events, I speak for MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, and different public events and DUI classes, and trying to help prevent this from happening. And unfortunately, back 7 years ago, literally 7 years ago, I was on my way to work. And if you guys can look it up, look up my name, and it comes, I was on the news a couple of times, and look up my name. Everybody on my Facebook already knows my name, but here on Twitch or YouTube, Manuel Russ. Look up my name, and you see right there off Carpenter, here in Modesto, off Carpenter Road, was actually an incident. I call it incident. I call it incident because this person wasn't drinking and driving. This incident would have happened. It's not an accident because it could have been prevented. But with that said, so 7 years ago, I want to speak a little bit about it, and maybe I'll speak about it on how I do my speeches, probably like at the high schools, because that one I keep it within about 15 minutes. When I do other events like for MAD or different public events for the DUI classes, I got more time. As a matter of fact, last school season, I actually spoke at 5 different counties, a bunch of different districts, but for 5 different counties. And and for 3 out of the 5 counties, I was speaking for the retreats and the actual assembly. And what the retreats are is, the kids that's involved into the program, into the assembly. They, I tell my story, but they get to ask me questions. I get more involved, more personal with them, and ran across some great kids, some, all seniors and sophomores, juniors and seniors, and ran across some great kids, some stories and some, well, I really shouldn't say stories, well, true life events, I should say, and it's just amazing, and heartfelt, but so. For those that don't know my story, that's here listening on my Twitch, or don't know my story, that's new subscribers on my YouTube, everybody on my Facebook pretty much already knows from when it first happened and everything. I don't know if they know the full story or not, but so 7 years ago I was on my way to work, and you know what? Okay, so I'll break it down a little bit like I do on my speeches. Not too much how I do on my speeches, because I'm here, and on my speeches I tell it, a little different. Or I can do more or less the way I break it down on my speeches at the high schools. Kind of short, within the 15 minutes. But then again, I have a tendency, knowing that I got pretty much all the time in the world right now that I'm live. I can speak about it more. So I do somewhat. So usually that video plays. I'll play the video, or whoever's in charge of the camera and the recording and the sound and all that, they'll play the video for me on the big screen. Really, I really don't say big screen, but on the well, whatever it is that they're playing it on, and they'll play the video. They introduce me. You know, I'll walk up there and, you know, I'll tell everybody, because on the video it says that the hospital was saying that I was likely to 11:44. Now, what 11:44 is that I was gonna die. You know, I was gonna likely to die. Now, then I'll go up there and pretty much I'll tell everybody, you know, that because a lot of times at the high school they do reenactment. You know, it's a big thing. You know, they got the helicopter comes in. You know, they pick up the people from the car incident, and you know they got a red car out there. It's literally a whole like a true reenactment, I should say. And but a lot of times, you know, they realize, you know, it's their peers, you know, it's their classmates, you know, they're doing it and they don't take it as serious. Some take it real serious, some don't. But when my video drops, they see, you know, it's real life story. You know, I'll go up there and I'll tell them, you know, this reenactment you guys see your classmates, your peers do, is they're actually telling real life events, you know, stuff that really happens in real life. And I'm a perfect example of that. And so I break it down. I have everybody close their eyes. So whoever's on right now, you know what? I'll break it down somewhat, kind of, sort of like I do at the high schools, or even at my public events, but more at the high schools. Try and keep it as short as possible. So if anybody is on listening right now, if you can do me a favor and close your eyes for me, and I want you guys to actually picture and imagine. You know, really imagine and picture. Anybody, rather you're on my YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, you know, just really close your eyes and picture and imagine what it is you do every morning. You know, your everyday morning routine. When you wake up, work night shift, day, swing, mornings, or go to school, whatever the case may be, you know, what is it you actually do, your routine? Because everybody got a routine. So what is your routine every morning when you wake up? You get up, get on your social medias, check your phones, get ready, have your coffee, whatever it is you do every morning. Just imagine it. Keep your eyes closed, just imagine it. What is it you do? What is your morning routine? Your everyday routine, I should say. Now, do you remember when you get up, before you leave your house or whatever it is you do? Do you remember what your loved ones were wearing? Do you remember their smile? Can you see it? Now, I want you guys just to imagine and picture. Usually I add stuff to it, but I'm just kind of summarizing it. Now I want you guys to picture and imagine waking up and looking into exactly what you're looking into right now. Pitch and total darkness. Now usually at this point, you know, everybody, you guys go ahead and open your eyes, but at this point I'm usually standing there and I have my prosthetic leg off and I'm standing there pretty much with one leg holding on to my walker, trying to balance myself. And then from there, you know, I tell everybody, you know, I'm literally a living testimony, a walking miracle, which I am. Literally, I really am. And then I start off with my morning routine. You know, my morning routine, and I remember specifically it was the morning of, but my morning routine was the same. You know, I used to always wake up every single morning, and my daughter at the time, she was only 9 years old. You know, it's 7 years later, so she was only 9 years old, but she used to always sneak into our room every night, knowing that I would wake her up before I went to work and tell her sleep on my side of the bed. So I used to always wake up about 10-20 minutes before my alarm used to go off for work. You know, I always used to show up to work at least an hour early. You know, for me that was my routine. You know, if I was an hour 45 minutes early, I was on time. Anything later than that, I felt like I was late and I was rushing. But so I remember waking her up, and my daughter at the time, she was 7 years old, and I remember every morning when I used to wake her up, I used to wake her up and tell her, you know, she was born on my birthday, so I call her my birthday. I used to call her my birthday girl. She used to call me her birthday boy because we share the same birthdays. And I remember I used to wake her up and tell her, you know, birthday girl, why don't you wake up and sleep on my side of the bed? and her smile, I remember always started with her eyes. Her eyes just light up, follow with a big, beautiful, cheesy smile. And she used to always say, "Okay, my birthday boy, I love you." I told her, "I love you too, baby girl. Go ahead and sleep on my side of the bed. I see you after work." And this particular morning, that was the last time I ever got to see my daughter's beautiful face. Literally, that was the last time. So I went over on my wife's side of the bed and I gave her a little kiss on her cheek, woke her up. And I remember she woke up and gave me that little half smile, and I told her, and this was my morning routine, remind you, and I told her, "All right, babe, I'm headed to work now." And she said, "All right, babe, I love you." I told her, "I love you too, babe." And then she said, "Be safe." And I told her, "Always." Now that was the last time I ever got to see her. That was the last time I ever got to see her. That's why, you guys notice after every stream I always say, make sure you tell your loved ones you love them before you leave your house, because you're not guaranteed to make it home, as I wasn't. So anyways, with that said, I remember I was headed to work. I got the rest of my stuff ready, went to my pickup truck, and I headed to work. Now, when I was headed to work, so I'll give a little extra now that I'm on here. This person, I know people in this person's circle, and this person was actually headed back to a memory of life from somebody they had lost a week prior due to a DUI incident. So they were going back to a memory of life from somebody that passed away due to another DUI incident from a week before. But so anyways, this back road just happened to be my main way to work. And I remember I was driving to work, and I remember seeing the car swerving to my lane. And I didn't think nothing of it because they corrected themselves, and it was a ways from me. So as we got closer, I remember seeing the car last second swerving to my lane, and obviously I didn't make it out of the way. I didn't have time. There was absolutely no time. I just remember I was in a bad incident, bad wreck, real bad. And I can't tell you if my car was flipping or my pickup truck. I can't tell you if it was flipping. I can't tell you what it was doing. The only thing I know was I was hit hard. And I remember when it came to a stop, in my head, first thing in my head, I was thinking, I started saying the Our Father. I don't get to say this when I speak at public events, but I started saying the Our Father, and I started, saying, "God, please forgive me, but, please forgive me for my sins." Then I said, "Wait a minute, it's not my time yet. It's not my time yet. I gotta help the people in the other car." And so that's what I thought I was doing. I thought I was trying to get out of my truck, my pickup truck, to help the people in the car. Then they hit me, whether they had babies, whether they had kids in the car, I gotta save them. I gotta save the babies. And at that point, it hit me that, I don't know if I'm looking at the laptop or not, but at that point, my son, my youngest son, used to go to work with me. I would say school. He used to go work with me sometimes on the weekends. When he wasn't at school or they were on vacation from school or something. And he used to go to work with me sometimes because, I was a truck driver, and certain routes he was able to go with me. But I remember looking to the passenger side, in my head anyways, I was looking towards the passenger side, and I started yelling his name. I started yelling his name, and he wasn't answering me, and I couldn't see him. So I started losing it. I lost it. I started panicking. And I remember at that time that I was losing it. At that time I was thinking maybe, he's helping the other people in the other car. But that's all I remember. Literally, that's all, I remember. And the crazy thing is, what I do remember is that I remember being in the ambulance, okay? As a matter of fact, I could add this in there now, right now that, I'm talking to you guys. A little more that I don't talk about. But in the pictures that we received from the from the CHP officers and or the first responders and all that. So around my pickup truck, the pictures that were taken. Now, remind you, it wasn't foggy that day. The floor wasn't wet. But there was orbs all around my pickup truck, inside my pickup truck. Right next to me, I guess there was a big old orb with like orbs inside of it. And when they were taking pictures when I wasn't in the truck, when I was in the ambulance, all the orbs was around the ambulance, and there was no orbs around my pickup truck. So I just had to add that in there. But I remember being in the ambulance. I remember feeling my wife's hands, her hands on my chest, and she was saying, I remember her telling me, "Baby, you're gonna be okay. Just let them do your job. You're gonna be fine." And see, I want to jump because the person, the EMT, just happened to be a relative of hers. But I'm gonna skip all that. I'm not gonna go all that deep into it. Maybe later on. But so the crazy thing was she wasn't there. She was still home sleeping. Her day hasn't even got started, but she wasn't there. That wasn't her. But I'm pretty sure. So I had died twice in the ambulance. They had to revive me. They used the I don't know how you call it, the shocker thing on your chest, and they revived me twice in the ambulance, and once at the hospital. So I died 3 times 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I died 3 times, twice in the ambulance, once at the hospital. But so moving forward, she was still at home sleeping. But when she took my kids to school, dropped them off, took our kids to school, dropped them off, and she went back to the house. And she had just got back, and she seen 2 officers show up to the front of the house, which for that was normal because they had being a truck driver, it had cameras around the whole house, front and back, and we lived across the street from a park that I don't want to say a lot of stuff happened there, but there was a lot of homeless people that used to go there. So we used to have officers come and ask they could see the camera or whatnot. So to her that was normal. She goes outside because she's seen them through the camera, and they had asked her, do you know Manuel? And she was like, yeah, that's my husband. And I guess they wouldn't look at her. They couldn't look at her in her face. They kept looking down. And then she said, why? Is there something wrong? From the way she explains it, which she explains it more, but I'm just giving you a short version of it. And they said, well, he was in a bad accident. You need to get to the hospital ASAP. He's at Memorial Hospital. You need to get there ASAP. And so bottom line, and the reason why they wasn't looking at her is because the only thing that they knew that I was going to die. They were getting reports back from the hospital that I was going to die. That I had no chance. So she woke up my daughter, my oldest daughter, and they went to she had the other kids get picked up from school. I had one of my daughters was at elementary school, 2 of my kids were middle school, and then my high schoolers. So they got picked up. They were at the hospital. She seen the newspaper in my pickup truck and started just flipping out because my pickup truck was destroyed. So when she was able to go see me in the back before emergency surgery. So let me break this part down to you guys a little bit. So before my emergency surgery, they had to I had 32 pints of blood. 32 pints of blood for emergency surgery, a total of 52 pints of blood. And your average body, I think, is like 8-10 pints of blood. So you figure how much is 52 pints of blood, you figure out the math. Now I had a brain bleed in the part of my brain that was non-surgical. I now have a scar in that part of my brain. And See, I'm skipping parts because I'm going back and forth, adding some extra stuff in there. Now, here's another part that I don't talk about. I remember when I was getting out of the ambulance and they were transferring me into the hospital. The crazy thing is, so for those that don't know, we lost 2 sons, rare heart conditions. And, but when I was getting out of the hospital, when I was getting out of the ambulance, they were transferring me to the hospital. I remember seeing my mother-in-law. She's passed away. My wife's older brother, which she never met because he passed away when he was hit by a car, and he passed away. And my mother-in-law was holding my 2 sons that passed away, and her son was hugging her leg. I'm not sure, he was a kid. He got hit by a car, but I remember her coming up to me with her son, which would have been my brother-in-law, and my 2 sons. And I remember her telling me, "You're going to be okay." They're letting pretty much my lady know, and they're going to call the kids, and they're going to be there soon. To be okay, to hang in there. And something I really don't talk about because they all passed away. But I remember that clearly. I remember that vividly. I remember that. So, anyways, with that said, fast forward, she got to go see me in the back, her and my 2 oldest kids. And the way they described me is that, they had my body pretty much covered with the blankets and the sheets and stuff, for they wouldn't see all the blood and all my bones that was sticking out. So literally my bones were sticking out of my shoulder, my forearm, my femur was sticking out of my leg in 2 different spots. And my foot was degloved. My left foot was degloved. And they said my face was so swollen at that point that it looked like a basketball. My face at that point was so badly bruised. It was dark purple, pretty much pitch black, dark purple. And the only reason why they knew it was me, because my granddaughter's name that got inside of my head, which is Esperanza. In English, that means hope. Something that I'm going to say from here on, kind of like I do at my speeches. I'm going to try and stop skipping and doing extras because I'm starting to lose myself. Too much to explain. So I'm trying to make a long story short. So, Esperanza, in English, that means hope. It's something that the hospital lost. They lost all hope in me. But my family never did. And I say that because before I go there, they had to reconstruct my whole face. Which I can actually use another one. Sometimes it sounds like I'm slurring my words, which I'm not. Just my palate sometimes drops and it sounds like I'm slurring my words. And so they had to reconstruct my whole face. They had to reconstruct my whole left side. So my face and my whole left side now is filled with hardware and a word I can't pronounce, but dead people's bone. And so when they see me, they said that I pretty much had blood coming out of my ears, my eyelids, my nose, my mouth, and they were able to see the indentation through the blankets of my bones sticking out of the blankets and the blood seeping through the blankets. And I was and this is where I get victim of circumstances. For example, the surgeon that redid my face, that reconstructed my face, I remember going in there after a few months later, I should say. It sounded like he was talking to a ghost. He was stuttering. He didn't know how to react. My lady said that his face got ghost pale, and but he did tell me that he didn't think I was gonna live. He said that my surgery was so bad, my case was so bad that he stopped doing emergency surgeries. He only does scheduled surgeries because he remembers me. He remembers me clearly. So he stopped doing emergency surgery. The surgeon that did my shoulder, he said my shoulder was so bad it was like a bunch of cobwebs when he first see my shoulders. He said my shoulder was like a bunch of cobwebs, which I have multiple surgeries on my shoulders, and there's two muscles that they took out of my shoulder, so my shoulder is constantly sore and hurts. I got the last surgery, was a reverse shoulder replacement, and I wasn't supposed to be able to scratch my back ever again, but luckily I can. I'm hard-headed and I'm doing it anyways. And my forearm, my bone was taken out of my forearm. I'm not supposed to have any movement in my last 3 fingers, which again I do. And my femur, I had multiple surgeries on my femur. It's healed, and just recently I went to the doctors and it's actually still healing. The parts, they thought it was healed as much as possible. It had a lot of thin parts where my femurs. So there's either I can get above the knee amputation, which they don't recommend that because I am completely blind, or I can get a new femur, which every average of every 5 years I have to have another femur put in, a new femur put in, or just deal with it the way it is, my hardware and and the pain, the soreness, and just pretty much deal with it. So I'd rather just deal with it. And but just a couple weeks ago I went to a appointment and they rechecked it because I was getting some burning, stabbing sensation on my side of my leg. So I want them to double check the hardware. The hardware, and all the hardware looked good, but my femur actually healed a little bit more. The part of the real thin spots actually got thicker, which that's real good news. But I do need a Cadillac knee replacement, which that's more in debt than a regular knee replacement because it's side of my amputee. And I'm not gonna get too details for that, but my foot was degloved, which they couldn't save it, so they had to amputate my leg, and it's just pretty much a long story short, I should say. And so now I deal pretty much constant pain 24/7, but yeah, they give me like pain pills, stuff like that, which I very rarely take. I'm not big on pain pills, but I do take seizure medicine because of the scar that I have in my brain because of it. So I take seizure medications now and some other medications to help my brain swallowness go down, because brain swallowness, they say your brain takes the longest to heal. It can take up to like 15 years for my brain swallowness to go down. But see, I'm jumping the gun so much. I'm trying to get into details and I forget other stuff. And usually at the high schools, I already got it down packed. I don't, I say keep it short and impactful. And right now, knowing that I'm live and I got all the time in the world, yeah. Somebody walked in. Go ahead.
You're frozen on there.
All right, so they're gonna fix my screen. I guess I'm frozen. All right, so they're gonna fix my screen. Or they're gonna try to anyways. I guess I'm frozen. All right, so till then, I want to go ahead and keep talking. So, I forgot where I was at. So let me take you guys back. Okay, so that's a little bit about my well, I don't know how healthy, but I'm healthy. I'm good. But physical wise, my body's broken. But I'm glad, because I could have been a lot worse. I could have been a lot worse. I could have been paralyzed. I could have been I'm so much worse, so much worse. I just put it like that. But I do remember when I was waking up from my coma, because I was in a coma. I do remember when I was waking up from my coma, I literally woke up to my kids on the left side of me crying. On the foot of my bed, my wife was crying. And this doctor with a real deep voice, a real deep accent, was telling my lady pretty much to pull the plug on me because I had no chance to live. And that's what literally I was waking up listening to. And I knew he was talking about me because all I see was pitch black. All I could see was pitch black. My body felt paralyzed. I had no voice because I had a trach down my throat. So I don't know how he did it. I have no clue how he did it. But I remember I sat up. Now when I sat up, I remember the nurses on the right hand side of me just tripping. They were just flipping out like. And they started calling the doctor, and the doctor turned around, and the doctor was like, lay him down, you know, fill him up with, pretty much fill me back up with medicine. And luckily, kind of find out that wasn't the first time the doctor was telling my family to pull the plug on me. You know, there was multiple times, but my family, my wife never gave up on me. Never gave up on me. Knew I was in there. Knew I was in there. So if she would have listened to the doctors, then I wouldn't be here today. But I remember waking up from what my wife, my kids say it was 2 weeks later. You know, I personally couldn't tell you if it was 2 hours, 2 days later, but it was 2 weeks later. I woke up, same thing. My kids on the left hand side of me was crying, my wife was crying, and Count Dracula, I call the doctor Count Dracula because he had a real deep voice and it sounded like Count Dracula, his accent. Telling my wife, you know, with all the brain trauma that he took, now remind you that was a brain doctor. With all the brain trauma that he took, there's a good chance that he's not going to remember you, let alone his own kids. I remember it kind of pissed me off, and in my head I was thinking, man, why are you lying to my family for? And again, all I see was pitch black. I had no voice because I still had the trach down my throat. My body felt paralyzed. And at this point, they had me pretty much, I don't want to say tied down, but buckled down before I wouldn't move it again because I was pretty much half broken trying to heal. But I was able to lift my right hand. And I remember when I lifted my right hand because I was asking for something to write with. And I started, it was like playing charades with the nurses and the doctors. They're like, well, he's asking for something, you know, what does he want? And my wife, she won the charade game. She said, I think he's asking for something to write with. So they gave me something to write with, and I started writing. And this part, you know, I say it as a joke, and I say this in my speeches, but I remember I started writing. And I remember the nurse on the right hand side of me, she was like, look, he remembers how to spell. And this part I say and did you fix it? You still trying to fix it? Mm-hmm. All right, sorry about that. Trying to see.
There it goes.
Okay, I'm back. Which way?
Right there.
Am I looking at it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So. Yeah, I know I'm jumping the gun. I'm all over the place right now. And I should have just said it the way I do at my speeches. It's the way I should have did it. But you know, I'm all over the place. You know, just trying to talk. You know, a little bit about it. And I don't want to be on here too long. Take everybody's time. You know, I wish we were able to get the talk back on where I can answer you guys' questions and everything afterwards, or you know, talk with you guys and all that. But I'm just giving you guys a little bit of rundown. So I'm back on where I can. With that said, you know, I want to skip all that. So let's talk about a little bit about the ripple effect. You know, the ripple effect it's real, because the person that was driving that car, they had no car insurance. They had no car insurance, and my pickup truck, I only had liability. It was my work pickup truck, so I didn't think I needed anything else. So I only had liability, and I wish I would have had uninsured motorist, but I didn't have that. But the people under the car, you know, they had no job, they had no insurance, no car insurance. Tried going after them civilly, but you know, like they say, you know, you can't take anything out of, you can't suck water or money out of a rock. So and I lost my spot. So, but they had no insurance, they had nothing, and so literally, it left us homeless for a year. It left us homeless for a year. You know, we were living from couch to couch, sometimes in our car, our Suburban, and you know, being blind with one leg. You know, how was I supposed to sit there and defend my family? You know, and you know, it sucked. You know, it hurts, and but luckily we had one of our family members wound up taking us in over here. This way my kids wouldn't have to leave their schools or nothing like that. And luckily we got this landlord we got now. You know, a great landlord. Took a chance on us, being the fact that, you know, we don't make not even twice the amount of rent. And luckily they never raised the rent, because they did, well, you know, we'd be in trouble. But you know, we struggle now just to make rent. You know, what I was making in a week is what I make a month now. And you know, just struggling to survive on a daily, you know, literally on a daily, you know, part of the ripple effect. And and that's what sucks about this, you know. And I started teaching myself how DJ started, you know, that helps out a little bit. And but you know, I'm from here, you know, usually I'll talk about my grandkids. You know, I have no clue what my grandkids look like. You know, I talk about all that, and I speak about, you know, my daughters get married, I won't see them in their wedding dress. Or even my son, you know, he figured back then he was 12 and 11, 12. Now he's 20. And, you know, just a lot. And I have no clue. I didn't get to see my kids getting raised. You know, I didn't get to see, I have no clue what they look like now. I remember them as kids, but not now as they're becoming adults. And, you know, I was an upfront dad. You know, I was one that when it came to work and my jobs, you know, I was a workhorse. You know, I was a workaholic, but I always made sure I had my family time. You know, I told every job up front, you know, if my kids got an event, there's, you know, anything that had to do with my family, I'm taking the day off, period. And if you don't like it, plain and simple, then I'll find another job. You know, a job comes a dime a dozen. And for the most part, they all respected it. You know, one tried testing me, and I wound up leaving. They wound up losing like 3 or 4 accounts because, you know, I was a truck driver. And that was on them. I didn't go back. They asked me to go back quite a few times, because what I was doing in one route, they wanted having two drivers to do it, and they couldn't even finish it in one route. So, you know, that was my thing. You know, I was up front. I made sure that I found time for my family, for my kids, for my wife. But even then, you know, I mean, so much to explain, so much, you know, that I don't want to get into right now. Being that, you know, today, 7 years. I mean, literally, it's so anyways, Yeah, my mind's going all over the place right now. Usually when I do my speeches, I have it down packed and I do my speeches and then from there I ask questions. Unfortunately, I'm not able to ask questions right now, answer questions because I can't see the chat, and we try to get the talk back going before I can at least hear the chat or hear what you guys are talking about or commenting. But we weren't able to get that working on here. Or I would love to be able to talk to you guys. Maybe one day, anybody listening on Facebook or even here on Twitch, you guys get on my YouTube, and I'll go live on my YouTube next week. I'll go live on my phone because my phone will read me back everything on YouTube. On Twitch, it doesn't. But
increase application content phone messages.
but
Messenger.
on my YouTube, when I go live on my YouTube with my phone, it reads me the chats on YouTube. So,
7:57 p.m.
but I am blessed. I'm blessed to be here, and I'm blessed and grateful to be here. Because if they would have listened to doctors, I wouldn't be here. They would have gave up on me and listened to doctors, I wouldn't be here. But fortunately, after so long of being in a coma, I did pull out. I did. I pulled out. No, but I'm grateful to be here. And like I said towards the end of my speeches, depending on who I'm talking to. For example, like when I'm talking to the high schools, I tell them the reenactment that they seen their classmates do is a true story. They're telling true life events that's happening every single day, every 15 minutes, basically. That's the name of the program, is E15 programs, every 15-minute programs. And and from there, I give to everybody, you got prom, because they usually do the every 15-minute programs before proms, before senior ditch days. But I tell them, before, we know high school kids, pretty much everybody. Well, I don't want to say everybody. I personally was never a drinker. I never I never smoked. To this day, I still don't. I mean, I talk a lot of shit. I talk a lot of shit, and I talk shit like I'm smoking whatnot. But I think pretty much everybody I know, I'm the square. I'm the square. But I was always a designated driver. I don't smoke. I don't get smoke weed, none of that stuff. But I always tell everybody to be responsible. If you're gonna go out, you're gonna drink. Don't drink and drive. Give your keys to somebody, or if you're arguing with somebody that wants to take off with their keys in hand, hey, let them get mad at you, knock their ass out, and take the keys. You may be saving a life, even theirs. You never know who will be. For example, this one lady, because I get a lot of information. This one lady not too long ago, and it was breaking news. I was actually on my way to an E15 program, and every 15-minute program out in Stockton, and I got this call. So it was this year. It was earlier this year. This lady had went into a canal. She went into a canal because she was drinking and driving, and the canal was low. But what this lady did, I don't know if it was because she was drunk, but she left her infant baby in the back seat, in the car seat. She didn't take her infant baby out of the car seat. She went home. She took a shower, went to bed, and unfortunately, her infant baby got their wings. Sad, just sad. The baby got the wings, and I remember getting a call the morning on my way to the every 15-minute programs, and I was told, hey, you know what, paperwork's getting done now. They picked up the girl, that lady out there in San Jose, California. They picked up the girl out there in San Jose, California, and arrested her for for her baby passing. Arrested her for the baby passing. And another one right here in Merced County. Well, I stay in Stanislaus County, but right there in Merced County, you know, prior to that, a lady went into a light post. You know, a lady went into a light post, and her teenage daughter was there with her. But since the lady was drinking, her daughter, her 15-year-old daughter didn't make it. Didn't make the incident. You know, just couple things about, you know, drinking and driving. Now, fortunately for me, I made it. I wasn't supposed to. If you guys see my pickup truck, you guys seen, I'm a blessing. You know, I'm here, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm making the best of it. And the way I look at it, at things, is that, you know, I don't look at what I lost, because if I was to look at if I was to look at everything what I lost, I'd be miserable. You know, I would be miserable. So I try to just look at what I do got, what I'm grateful and blessed to have. You know, that's the only way I can actually look at things and make the best of it. And I'm getting kind of cold right now. I got the fan on, the ceiling fan, the AC's right on me. That's why you guys always see me in the house with my sweater on, even though it may be 110 outside. But everywhere I sit at, I'm always right underneath the vent. But, you know, going back to my situation, I know there's a lot of stuff I'm skipping. There's a lot of stuff or some stuff I'm adding to it. I know I'm going a lot of back and forth. And but bottom line, I wish I can answer questions and stuff. So, you know what? What's today? Today is Thursday.
8:03 p.m.
8 o'clock.
Device unlocked. Battery level charging at 95%. Home screen. 8:03 p.m. Thursday, the 18th of September.
18th. What day is the 28th? I know I got a couple DJ events coming up.
Application 8:03 p.m. Thursday.
Alexa, what day is September 28th?
Thursday, the 18th of September.
September 28th, 2025 is on a Sunday.
27th. I got a event.
8:04 p.m.
Let's do the 29th. Alexa, what day is September 24th?
September 1st, 2025 is on a Monday.
Alexa, what day is September 24th?
September 24th, 2025 is on a Wednesday.
Alright, so let's do September 20. Alexa, who plays NFL Thursday Night Football on September 25th? Make sure it's not the Cowboys.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, who plays NFL football on September 25th?
In the NFL, the Seahawks and the Cardinals will face
All right.
off in the Thursday night.
So I gotta make sure it's not the Cowboys.
5:15
So,
p.m. on
Alexa, shut up.
Amazon Video.
So how about we do this? If you guys want, whoever's on my Facebook or my YouTube or my Twitch, if you guys get on my YouTube, DjSeeNoEvil, and that got over like 700-800 songs on there, videos, lives, whatnot. And I'll go live on my phone. This way, whoever wants to ask questions or talk to me or, you know, whatever, my phone will actually read me my chats on my YouTube. It might talk over me. You guys will hear my phone talking like this. Usually when I go live on my phone, on my YouTube, you hear all this.
Application, contact, application, home screen.
And then, but at least I'll be able to hear my chats, my comments, and I'll be able to answer questions. You know, however you guys want to do it. I'll go on the 25th. Matter of fact, I'll see if they'll premiere it. I'll go on the 25th, and you guys can ask any questions. You know, I'll go live, and you know, I'll chat and bullshit with you guys and talk about it. It's just I just had to go live. You know, I just had to go live today, being that it makes 7 years, and I feel so grateful to be here. I feel so grateful that I'm here doing the good things that, you know, the best I can do with it. Anyways, I know on a lot of these Wednesdays I was doing the DUI classes. This last one I didn't have to, and you know, speaking at the DUI classes, and and I got a fall program, a 15-minute program coming up. Not gonna say what county, what high schools, only because that's not supposed to. It's pretty much like a surprise, not a surprise, but something that they don't want the students to know, I guess, until the day of. So I'm not gonna say what county. I'm not gonna say what school, nothing like that. Like I said last year, or this last season, I was doing 5 different counties. You know, within those 5 counties, you know how many different districts. But you know, that's another thing too. You know, with the schools, is a lot of these students. You know, especially when I got to do the retreats. You know, a lot of these students, you know, they get in tears. You know, they get in tears, and a lot of them, you know, I get to reach out to, and a lot of their stories too that they have from family members that was either the driver or was on the other side of the driver, I should say. Me personally, I don't like calling myself a victim. I'm not a victim. You know, I was not picked out from a crowd. I made a foul a victim of circumstance, but I'm not a victim. You know, I never considered myself a victim. I'm far from that. But you know, this is my path. You know, this was God's path for me to be able to make I got a text earlier today saying that you know, when everybody noticed when something goes bad, but nobody noticed the good. For example, what I'm doing, right? The bad thing, the negative thing was, which that's in my speech too. I always say that, you know, I'm turning my negative into a positive, and that's something I am doing, or I'm trying to do anyways. But you know, like the message I got this morning is that you know, everybody's seen the wreck, knows about the wreck, knows that I'm blind with one leg, pretty much physically broken, but nobody sees the good that I'm doing, as far as when I speak at the MAD programs, when I speak at the DUI classes, when I speak at the every 15-minute programs, different public events. You know, who knows how many lives that I may be helping. I would never know that. We would never know that. And you know, they always say, as long as you help one person, you can save one life, your job's done. I don't look at it that way. I look at it, I need to save more than just one life. You know, I can sit here and speak about situations that, yeah, I can speak about, you know, a lot of stuff. But for example, a good friend of mine's, you know, in Stockton, he used to drink and drive, but since my incident, he hasn't drove under the influence ever since. And you know, he's not the only one. You know, there's been I should say a family member. She had she said, you know, she was pretty bad at it, and but since my incident, she doesn't do it no more. As a matter of fact, now that I'm here, I'll tell you. So initially, when I first started speaking, you know, I was speaking before I was 1 month. As a matter of fact, when I woke up from my coma, when I was finding out what was going on, what happened to me, one of the very first things that went through my head was, I need to get my story out there. You know, I need to start saving lives. You know, I really need to get this done. I need to speak to the kids. I need to speak to, and I started making phone calls, and you know, I got a hold of the right people, and you know, that's how I started speaking at the classes. But one of the very first DUI classes that I spoke to, I got it through, I'm not going to say his name because, you know, I didn't ask him, but he was a DUI offender, and this is when I started speaking at the first DUI class out there in Stockton. I got it through him, a matter of fact, because he was in the class. He was in the actual class, and his situation was, you know, he had just bought a brand new car. He was working, he was doing good, and he drove, I guess, for years, you know, under the influence. So he thought he was cool. Well, in this case, he just got his brand new car. He went, like, I want to say, he said across the street, about 3 houses down from his house, and they went to the store to get more beer. So he took his car, went, parked in front of his neighbor's house, 3 houses down from his house, across the street. And at the end of the night, he was ready to go home. Instead of walking home, he decided he's going to take his car, park in his driveway, and he's cool. 3 houses down, cross the street, nothing, no big deal. Well, what wound up happening is that he wound up totaling his car because he went into a light post that was in the street. Now, if the light post wasn't there, he would have went into the neighbor's house and totaled his car. And that's how I started working at that, you know, speaking at that class initially. And that class, as a matter of fact, you know, I spoke, you know, a lot of good responses, but a matter of fact, that class right there, I had a guy come up to me one time. You know, I had pretty much the whole class in tears. You know, the way I do my speeches. You know, I didn't do my speech on here like I was going to. I'm just, you know, pretty much mumbling and bullshitting with you guys, you know, speaking about it a little bit. But I remember I did my speech and I was talking about it, and this one guy, you know, I had the whole class in tears. Everybody was coming up, and you know, I don't do it for money. I don't get paid for it. You know, I do it voluntarily. You know, if they want to give donation, cool. But I remember I had a lot of people come up to me. They were in tears. You know, they were like, you know what, I'm never going to do it again. You know, I gave my number out for those that want to, which I actually gotten a couple phone calls when they were wanting to get in their car from coming from the bar or club or something. They wound up calling me, and they wound up getting an Uber or taxi, or I wound up bullshitting with him till he fell asleep, and then he called me in the morning time, you know, thanking me that he, you know, I didn't let him drive home like that. So anyways, one guy wound up coming up to me, and he goes, you know what? He goes, I'm not going to lie to you. He said he just pretty much just did time for an incident that he got into because of drinking and driving. He was on his 7th DUI. He goes, I'm not going to lie to you. He just said, you can tell he was sniffling. He goes, it makes me feel bad, and I do feel bad. He said, but I'll be lying to you if I tell you I'm not going to drink again. I'm not going to drink and drive again. He said, truth of the matter is, he goes, I'm taking this class where I can get my license back. Once I get my license back, I can't wait. I am going to go back to the bar. I'm going to want to jump in my car and driving again. And you know what? It is what it is. You know, I can't help everybody. You know, I can't have everybody, you know, pretty much see the light. I can't open everybody's eyes. You know, that's his plan. Well, hopefully he doesn't kill nobody. Hopefully he doesn't have anybody pass away. Hopefully, you know, he doesn't, you know, for that matter. But that's what but he was honest. You know, he was honest with me, and I can respect that, regardless if I agree with him or I don't agree with him. You know, at least I can respect his honesty with that, his honesty with that. But, you know, with that said, you guys, I know I've been talking and mumbling for a minute, and I didn't give you guys, you know, the speech that I usually do for my public events. You know, I just pretty much breaking a little bit down to you guys. So I want to go ahead and end my live here. I want to, I'm quoting here. But I want to go ahead and end my life here, and till I want to see if I right now call, see if they'll come and take me off. And I always say, always turn my, always turning my negative. Thank you for letting me turn my negative into a positive, and always ask yourself this question. And I know my wife always laughs at me because you always get something from a song. You always go back to oldies. You always do something. And one of the things I always say at the end of my speeches too, ask yourself this one question before next time you're at a party. What will you do when the party's over? I always ask that question. I've always said I'm turning. Thank you for letting me turn my negative into a positive. And I always say, always make sure you tell your loved ones you love them before you leave your house, because you're not guaranteed to make it home. Be blessed and stay blessed. And I truly mean that, because I know I am. But with that said, let me
8:17 p.m. Application 8:17 p.m.
yeah, so
Home screen.
next
8:17 p.m. Thursday.
so next Thursday around 7 o'clock, whoever wants to jump on my YouTube, I want to go live on my phone is what I'll do. I'll go live on my phone. This way I can hear the chat and I can talk with you guys. I'm only going to go on YouTube. I'm not going to go on StreamYard because the talkback's not working. So I'm only going to go on YouTube and talk about it. This way my phone can read me the chats and the comments and everything. So anybody that don't have my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell till I'm not sure the full notification. And then this way next Thursday I'll go live, and I'll go live on my phone. I don't know where my phone will be facing, but this way it'll read my comments. Have Mom come and get me off. This way I can chat with you guys. I can bullshit with you guys. I can answer questions. I can talk with you guys, and take it from there. But with that said, I know I keep saying that. There's so much more I would like to say, but I know I've been mumbling this whole time, and I didn't give my speech like I was gonna do it, like I originally was, because I'm just sitting here bullshitting. There's stuff that I added, stuff that I know I left that I didn't say. But I am grateful. I'm grateful, and I'm glad. And I want to thank all you guys, whoever's on. I have no clue who's on. Unfortunately, I don't know. I'm doing it in here. I was going to do it out there, but I'm doing it here because I know this is hard on my family, and the ripple effect is no joke. I feel like, me personally, I'm taking it better than my family is. But they don't like hearing about it. To them it's hard. For me, I feel like it's something that I have to do. I have to help people not go through what my family's going through, or even worse. And I can give you so many things that happen, so many different situations. Matter of fact, so this last season, at one of the schools that I was at, I had this lady come up, and I didn't really hear her because it was after the assembly, so I couldn't hear what she was saying. But which I wish I could have heard her, because you here to kick me off. Okay, let me finish this story real fast. Yeah, just let me finish this story real fast.
Well, I came to check and see if
Which,
we needed
yeah, I want to get
look
ready
at
to
it.
take off. Which I wish I could have heard her, because we were outside, everybody was talking, and I guess she was an elderly lady, and she was crying. I heard her crying, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. But I guess what she was asking me if I would turn in my own kid for drinking and driving, and she was talking about her kid. Her grandkid was in the program, but she was saying that her kid drinks and drives all the time. She gets in the car with her grandkids, and she tried. Her kid was already had like 3 or 4 DUIs on top of it, and the last one, I guess, a sheriff, which are not really trained for DUIs, but the sheriff pretty much just gave her public intoxication and which would have put her behind bars for a little bit, because of how many DUIs that this person would have had. but this, she was scared of, which my honest thing would have been like, well, you got to figure it this way. You can either save your grandkid's life and maybe help your kid by, maybe that's what they need to be able to get. I guess they're pretty much the kid was pretty much an alcoholic and wouldn't stop drinking and driving, won't stop drinking. You figure you can save your kid's life, save your grandkid's life by being, your kid may hate you for the first year or two, whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, probably be grateful because you probably would have saved their life on top of your grandkid's life. But I couldn't hear what she was saying. I couldn't understand what she was saying, and I wanted to find it out later through somebody that was next to me. But that was pretty much what it was. And yeah, if you want to read them to me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get some of the comments read to me right now.
Hold on. Being so. I don't want to be in the camera, guys. So, Pink Cozy's been on this whole time.
Thank you, Pink Cozy.
Timo DeVille said, Brutal Dallas Cowboys, what's up? G popping in real quick to say what's up.
What's up, Timo? That's right. Puro pinche Cowboys.
Pink Cozy said she's listening. .310 is on, said like, share, sub.
What's up, 310?
Pink Cozy said, love your sense of humor. You're amazing. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you, Miss Pink Cozy Games.
Beat me too, but appreciate you sharing your story, brother.
What's up, Feed Me Tube? Everybody check out Feed Me Tube on YouTube.
Pink Cozy said crazy. Laugh out loud. Pink Cozy said, I'm grateful to meet you, DjSeeNoEvil. Thank you for sharing your story. And put heart emojis.
Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and call that. I have no clue who's on my Facebook. Which, the cool thing about my Facebook, it'll read me back my comments once I go on there, and it actually goes down like chats the way my phone reads it. But I'm gonna go ahead and call that a night. You guys want to get on my YouTube next Thursday, and I have it on my. I'll go live on my phone. This way, my phone will read me my chats as we go. But with that said, you guys, I want to go ahead and end it. I want to go ahead and end my stream here. Always make sure you tell your loved ones you love them before you leave your house, because you're not guaranteed to make it home. Be blessed and stay blessed. I'm out.